Max. My name is Dagney, and with me here I have Emily Long.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing our podcast on our inner psychologist. So my psychologist's name is Dr. Keltner.
And mine is Elizabeth Loftus.
Yeah. So we're going to be asking each other a few questions today, and then we're going to kind of go over both of the psychologists to see kind of how they interact and connect with each other, and if they were alive at the same time, which I don't think they are or were, then what would they do together? So let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, so you already told me your psychologist's name, but what's he known for? What do you do?
So he's known as the most foremost emotion scientist right now. So he helped on Inside Out, which is super cool, and he kind of was the one that described all the different emotions and everything. So happiness, joy, anger, sadness, whatever it was. And then he also has written many books about the different kind of emotions that we have, and one in specific that stood out to me was the book about awe, which is an emotion that you feel when you stare at something vast and mysterious, right? Emotion that you feel throughout your entire body, and I'll be talking about that later. And he's written a lot of books on how to decrease stress and improve your life, and he's a pretty chill dude. I've watched a few podcasts with him too, and you can tell that he's done a lot of work on emotional well-being and stuff. And so when he talks, he's just kind of with the flow and everything. So what is your psychologist know for?
So mine kind of created the idea of false memories. Nobody really knew about it until she made it known, and false memories are kind of the idea of you remember something when you were little, or maybe not even little, maybe not even a while ago, but that's not true. It's just how you remember it, and it could be an influence, or it could be your own being of just not remembering it correctly, and can maybe gaslighting yourself into saying that was true. But a lot of times it's an outside influence that pushes you to believe that it was true, but it really wasn't. So that's kind of what she brought to light.
Okay, so she's the one that kind of studied these childhood memories that we may have, whether they happened or not, or whether it was an outside influence that told us they happened.
Exactly, and what influences could do that, and how the human brain could comprehend something that didn't even happen.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Okay, so did yours do any studies, and if so, what were they?
So I didn't read that he did any actual case studies, perhaps, where he took an individual or a group of individuals and studied them specifically. But he did go to 26 different countries, I believe, and kind of studied that emotion of awe again. And he came up with different ways that we can experience that through collective movement. Say you're in a stand full of people, you're watching a football game, right? And everyone's cheering and clapping. That makes us feel awe, and we're a part of this close community. And then there's moral beauty, which is a big one, where it's if you see a homeless person on the street, you offer them some money or some food to help them get by. Or if you just do a random act of kindness, like picking up a piece of trash off the ground and throwing it away for someone who may not have known that they dropped it. And just seeing that play out in real time, once again creates this all full body experience. And then the other ones, some of them include dancing. That's another big thing, collective movement. The beauty of nature, going on nature walks, and when you see this big huge waterfall or glacier and anything, you're going to kind of experience that. And then he's worked with a lot of other psychologists to kind of implement the studies of this emotion work that he's done, and how to necessarily apply that all to your life.
So you said he went to a lot of different countries. Did he find different results in different countries?
Yes, and especially during the times he was in more Eastern countries, right? They have a very different way of interacting with each other, and the medicine they have and the spirituality. And he found that moral beauty was a big thing over in those countries, to where you just experience these acts of kindness throughout many different cultures. And that's something that he definitely saw over there. And I say over here, it was more of a nature sorts and everything, because I feel like Americans really do value the beauty of nature, especially out in the Midwest and out in Colorado, to where we have all these, Grand Canyons and rivers and streams and everything, which are very protected. So yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. So your question is, did they do any studies? What kind of studies did she do?
So she is still alive today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and she has actually done a lot of studies,
Yeah.
like more than I could even talk about.
Yeah.
But one that really stuck out to me that kind of proved her point more than anything is there was a group of, I don't know how many people ranging from like, I would say 5 to probably maybe 40.
Mm-hmm.
And she had their parents or a trusted individual, but mostly their parents or their guardian that they grew up with, tell them that when they were, 2, 3, before they could really remember a lot of things, that they got lost when they were kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they were lost for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And they were out, they don't know where they were. And they just somehow came back, and none of this is true, but all of the kids, ranging from however old to however young, believed it. They were like, and they were asked about it later, and they said, yeah, I remember the woods, I remember being in this little, hut I made, I remember this, I remember that, about these things that didn't even happen, which that really stuck out to me because it proved her point. You can't dispute that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for sure.
They weren't told anything about the study, it was just pure, like, I do remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was pretty cool, but she's definitely done way more studies that have had to do with, like, your trusted parents or whoever raised you, or even if it's just like you trust somebody, now your friend telling you, hey, don't you remember that?
No.
And it's kind of like the gaslighting of, you don't remember that?
No.
How do you not remember that? That's such a big point in your life, and it gets you to the point where, like, I'm crazy, I can't remember that, but then you start remembering, like, oh yeah, that did happen, I remember that, like little tiny things, that details that didn't even exist.
Did any of the people in that study, like, ever come to realize maybe this didn't happen and this is all a lie?
I'm not exactly sure if they told them afterwards. I'm sure they did. But during the study, all of them were all in that, yes, it happened 100%. I'm sure after the study, they were like, this was just a study. But while, like, during it, they were all in. Every single one of them, like 100% was that they were lost and that they remember this tree. They remember where they got lost. They remember why they got lost. They remembering how to come back. So it's
actually so interesting.
I know.
It's kind of crazy how the human mind does that.
I know. Yeah, I just wonder about myself.
Yeah, no, for real.
What am I thinking about that's not even true?
Yeah.
Okay, so yours is all about positive thinking and all that. And so do you have any personal examples about how you have that in your life?
Well, I do a lot. I've been practicing, spirituality, kind of alchemy sense for like many years now, right? And one of the biggest thing in alchemy, which is kind of like a religion, kind of like a spiritual thing, right, is the use of positive thinking and like meditation and everything. And of course, my, personal experiences have led me to really believe in the mind-body connection, right? So you have serotonin that's produced in your gut, right? That's where the majority of it comes from. And so, like we were talking about earlier in class today, if you don't eat right, then you're not going to feel right. Your mental health isn't going to be right. And that is true for all of the hormones and all of the chemicals inside of your body. And so when you practice this meditation, right, your vagus nerve is activated, and that kind of just calms your body down. It slows your heart rate down. It relieves your digestion, so your food is, going through you at a good speed. It lowers your blood pressure, and it just kind of like calms your body down so we can, get to homeostasis, right? So where everything's perfect and working is good. And so this meditation, right, my dad taught me it personally, and I was probably like 13 when he taught me how to do it, where you just, lay in your bed at night and you think of this light that is far, far away from you, and you think of yourself just slowly walking towards the light, but you don't let yourself fall asleep. And once your body is put to sleep, but your mind is still awake, that's when you start to meditate, and all these thoughts that come into your head, you can just kind of experience them from an outside perspective, rather than just, thinking, oh, I'm thinking this, so this must define me in some sort of way. It's just kind of like an outer-body experience. And so using this meditation has so many bodily connections, physical connections that will improve your, physical health, which then from your serotonin in your gut, improves your mental health. And one thing that really caught my eye with with my psychologist and his studies is the emotion of awe, right? And so this meditation kind of induces this emotion of awe. And once you kind of get to that place, to where you're trying to practice it every day through like, the dancing or singing or being around a bunch of other people or just picking up a piece of trash, like I said earlier, your body just chills out and you become a lot happier. And I've, tried to do that for many years in my life. And I feel like the psychologist kind of helped me like click into where of like, is it not only in my head now, it's all throughout my body, and I can feel this positive energy all throughout my body. So it's really cool.
So it's like it's a natural thing you have in you. You just kind of have to channel it. Like, that makes sense. I feel like a lot of people could use that.
Yeah.
A lot of people could use that.
And especially in like Western culture that we have today, like if you're depressed or if you're have any of these mental illnesses like anxiety, they prescribe you these medications, right?
Yeah.
And that is only a mask of the problem. It only treats the symptoms.
Effects.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And suicidal thoughts is another one of those side effects that is so common.
When it's already adding to the problem.
Exactly.
Like, it's just
Yeah.
I think that it could be more, if this could be used instead of medication, I think a lot of people would have a better outlook and not be so dependent on this medication, because you shouldn't be dependent on medication. Right? That's not the goal.
Yeah. And it's very different from like say a blood pressure medication.
Right, of course. That's like, you need that, of course.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you could find other ways.
Yeah.
And this seems like a really good way.
Yeah. And I feel like this sort of psychology too is almost like taboo in like Western society, right?
Yeah.
You think like, oh, you're a hippie if you practice that. It's like, it's taking care of my body and my mind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I get that. For sure.
So do you have any like personal examples of like how these false memories like have affected you?
So that's the kind of the like good and bad of all this is you don't even know.
Yeah.
Like I do wonder though, like with my childhood, I have had a interesting childhood, I would say. Like I have been raised by two very different people, my mom and my dad. And my mom had a very different style of parenting than my dad. Yeah. And I feel like that has caused a lot of confusion along of my childhood of like, who was I raised this way or this way? I don't know. Yeah. How did that affect me? I don't know. And I think with that come false memories of like, I would personally like my mom's parenting a lot better. But then I see parts of my dad where I'm like, well, I like that, but what did I even like that when I was little? I don't know. Did that even happen? I don't know. Yeah. So it's kind of a lot with, I guess some people would say it doesn't even matter about because it was my childhood, but I feel like a lot of it has affected me to this day and why I'm this way, why I tend to be around people that are this way. Like, it makes you wonder, but at the end of the day, like, there's really no way to find out, and that's kind of what she's proven is that there's no way really to find out. You just kind of gotta ask yourself, did that really happen? But would that really happen? But at the end of the day, since you were so young and you're still developing, you really don't even know. Yeah. So, and this could be with positive or negative memories. Exactly. It's not just about like, maybe I had a great memory with my grandma or something, and I don't even know if that really happened. Yeah. That just may have been me being like, we should do that. Yeah. And I'm like, well, did that happen? I don't know. Yeah. So I don't think it's a bad thing to have these memories because, especially with the positive, like if that's what you wanted to happen and that's what you want to believe, then might as well do that. Yeah. Yeah. But with the negative, I feel like I have some of that, especially like with one side of my parenting. Like, but it's not something I'm gonna figure out easily. Maybe I can figure it out, but maybe not easily. But I'll work to figure it out. Maybe you could use my psychologist work to do it. We can combine these, and it'd be great. Like, literally. I did not know that she was still alive. I really had no idea. Yeah, when I looked her up, it's like she's in her 70s or 80s. So this is like a pretty old study. Yeah, she's been doing this for a long time. Yeah, but it's been her like kind of lifelong goal is to prove this is a serious thing. This is not just like something I'm making up because I don't want to believe something. Like, this is like a serious thing. Like, you don't even, because you're still developing. That's kind of the big issue here. And the outside influences, both of those combined make for a really vulnerable person. Yeah. So. Did she ever do anything on like, it's kind of debated in psychology, right? When you go through a traumatic situation, like either you remember it in great detail or you don't remember it at all. Yeah, that's kind of like, she has said, she hasn't really touched on it like 100%, but that's kind of the point is that whether it's traumatic, whether it's something you want to remember for the rest of your life, like it's kind of up to your, not your mind, but your body of whether you want to remember that in a good way or a bad way. It's like that mind-body connection. Exactly. So it's maybe some of it is whether it's true or not, but some of it's how you want to remember that memory. Yeah. Whether it was a good day with your parent event or whether it turned out to be a bad one. So
Yeah.
it's maybe not all about true or false. It's
Yeah.
about good or bad as well, or how maybe even like any emotion, like how you want to remember it. So I would say yes and no. Shouldn't really touch on it, but all of her studies kind of lead to that.
That is so interesting. You know, I feel like, you know, when I talk to my dad about like my traumatic memories too, when I was little, I said like, you know, I have trouble remembering my childhood because it was traumatic. He's like, you know, that's been debated and it's proven false.
Yeah.
But has it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the question, is that it can be, it's not a broad thing here. Like, it's literally person to person, memory to memory. Like, I've had the same thing with my dad. I'm like, I don't know if that really happened. Am I like making him out to be like this person? And I'm like, I don't even know.
Yeah.
But then am I making out to be someone so much better than he was? I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Do you think it's like, I mean, obviously you said it was debated because we're still developing so much, but is that like one of the reasons that we store memories in specific ways because we're young? Like, does it have anything to do with like...
I think, and I think while we're young, but the biggest thing is the influence others have on us.
Yeah.
Like, this is, or even society of like, this has been viewed as a bad thing, so you don't want to remember it.
Yeah.
Or you need to make sure to remember that.
Yeah. So
it's like, it's really about influences on you and who you interact with, what you do, like all that. So
I think that's super, super interesting. That's something you think about too often.
Crazy.
Yeah.
There's not an answer. There's not really an answer. There's just it makes you wonder.
Yeah. Is there an answer to anything though?
Exactly.
Do we know?
We don't know at all.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take a hypothetical, right? So if our psychologists, we both are psychologists, we work together, what kind of studies do you think they'd want to do?
I absolutely think they'd want to do how we can channel good memories.
True.
Rather than focusing on the bad. Of course, you need to remember the bad, but I think if you focus on the bad too much, you're going to get into a depressive state.
Yeah.
Of course you are. Because it's just bad. But I think if they were to work, they would want to channel the good memories rather than the bad, whether they are false or not.
Yeah.
I think so. What do you think?
I think it's definitely something similar too, and I think the way that Keltner kind of explains the emotions is a way to put them to good use, right? And not just why you experience these emotions or how. I think it's more of a now that you know what these emotions are and you can give them a name and you can feel them and know what they feel like, what are you going to do with that?
Right.
And so I feel like with her memories and everything, maybe there's something traumatic that happened, you know, in a child's lifetime, right? And so they could understand that that's a memory they want to get past or they want to understand more. It's kind of like, you know, like therapy. And then my psychologist would go in and be like, okay, well, this is the bad stuff that happened in that memory, but let's also think about the good. What color was the sky?
How can that be construed into something good?
Yeah. And even if it is a bad memory, I feel like it's good to focus on, you know, this may have been a bad memory, but was it a bad memory because of the person that was doing something bad, and being able to separate the person from the actual time that you were doing it.
Exactly. And with her, she can come in and be like, well, are we remembering this correctly? Are we remembering this correctly? And even if we aren't, how can we make this into something that we can stomach and it not be gut-wrenching? Like, how can we, even if it is false, even if it is or not, it doesn't matter, how can we make this something that doesn't bother you every single day? And he can help with that also, of how can we think more positively about it?
So. And I feel like the, you know, fact that there is no answer to your psychologist studies, right, is very important as the way we kind of function in our adult lives too, based on those memories. Because, I mean, if it's not proven whether it happened or not, you might as well take the good memories and hold on to the good memories. Understand the bad, but understand that it also doesn't define your childhood.
Exactly. Learn from the bad, but also realize that maybe you have the story wrong, or maybe I'm a big believer of give the benefit of the doubt to people. I shouldn't be.
No, but
it's kind of to a fault.
But
give the benefit of the doubt, and that's kind of, I feel like, what they would do. Of okay, maybe they did do this, or maybe this did happen to you, but what did you learn from it? What did you get out of it? And how can we turn that into something positive that you will continue to pass on to your children or whoever you come across? So
I feel like that's a big thing too, with trust, you know, because if I was in one of her studies, right, and my mom would have told me, hey, this happened to you as a child, I would have been like, yeah, that probably did happen. My dad told me anything, I would have been like, no, you making that up.
Exactly. That's why it was they kind of went with their like trusted, it was mostly their mom.
Yeah.
But if, you know, they weren't around or something like that, it was whoever they were, like, ride or die, like, you say it and I'm going, like.
Did that make any, like, I mean, why, how did they figure out, like, to use the trusted adult?
I think that's such the influence, like, you don't question what they're saying. Like, if my mom told me that, I would not question, like, you don't question, are you lying to me right now?
Yeah.
But if someone random came up to me and said you were lost, me, it'll be like, you got something wrong with you.
Yeah.
Like, so I think they did the trusted so that the study would go through and they would not question, be like, why are you telling me this?
Yeah.
You're being weird for telling me this. So I think that's why they went with the trusted, so that they didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so.
I think that's very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Lomax, and for anyone who is watching, to give us some YouTube views. And also, I would like to point that my song that is hopefully playing in the background at the moment, or at the end of the video, we will see what happens, is a song that I wrote about the experience of awe and kind of just, you know, music is another way you can experience it, and so I chose to do like just an instrumental with an open D tuning in my guitar because it sounds very full and lively and beautiful, you know, and so it's just me playing and kind of messing around with some different chords, so you can kind of feel that emotion that I'm portraying through my music.
Give Dagney extra credit for that.
Exactly.
Not me, though. I didn't have any part of that.
Well, you can give her a little bit if you want to. Okay, well, thank you very much for everyone who's watching.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.